We've got from Andrew Sharp, who said, as someone who's played one character since day one, I feel I miss a lot of the story in Shadowlands. As a Kyrian, I've had no involvement with Kel'Thuzad until now. I assume his return was set up in the Necrolord campaign.
Correct.
I think a smidge event here, but mostly Necrolord.
Mostly Necrolord.
Crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are right. And this is, you know, in Legion, they didn't have as much of this problem. Like, in the Rogue campaign, you flat out learn why the Broken Shore was a total disaster.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really a pivotal bit of knowledge.
No.
It was like nice extra content. And certainly the Covenant campaigns, like, there's a bunch of stuff with like Tyrande. I mean, if you're a Kyrian, you'll be very confused about that Tyrande cinematic.
I
where,
have no idea.
as a Night Fae, she ran up Torghast while Sylvanas summoned in a portal from Torghast, let the big chunky boy through. And we assume Tyrande hopped through that portal, killed the chunky boy, and then fought Sylvanas.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me as of Night Fae. Won't make that much sense to, you know, the other people who've not Night Faes. And certainly, when you split your camp... So what Blizzard want to do is they want to split their campaign 4 ways so that you get 4 characters. But then, of course, they made multi-alting really quite annoying in this expansion, so they sort of defeated that design goal, meaning that players are really confused by the story.
Yeah, I haven't done the Venthyr one yet, so I have no context for like Renathal or even Denathrius in the original. I'm like, whoa, who's this guy?
I mean, do you know what would have made this game so much better? If each Covenant was just something that we could wrap up with.
Yeah.
And we actually would have access. Imagine if your toon had access to every single Covenant.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Please.
You could just be like, oh, I want to use the Venthyr one today. Just open up your thing, click the button, boom. You got the Venthyr kit. Wow. You could actually do that and still have your soul mines and your and all of that jazz. But what it would mean, though, is on that one character, you'd have like all this progression to do. And maybe, you know, more people would experience more of the story if that was the case. Because certainly, as a Kyrian, you're not going to enjoy any new Kel'Thuzad story elements because you haven't seen him be set up properly or you don't know his story. And that's obviously an issue. Yeah, I mean, they sort of did that a bit too in BFA. You know, all the Alliance players are confused at Uldir, and, you know, the setups for things meant that some plot points didn't land for people.
I think that might have been one of like the reasons I bounced off. Well, outside of not really enjoying raiding Uldir, that might be one of the reasons I bounced off BFA so hard early. Is just because I'm like, what is this raid? What's going on? Just because I had no context for Nazmir. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's any of this? Like, did I skip something in the story? It's like, no, I just.
Yeah, something like that.
I didn't spend a dozen or 20 something hours leveling a character on the other faction.
Yeah, so pity. I hope they can, do that better next time, please. The whole splitting the content. I mean, it's like splitting the content can just also make it feel like. So imagine this: the Covenant campaigns are just available to Imagine the Covenants are almost like 4 giga reputations that your character can just go and do, and their campaigns are not time gated.
Yeah, like straight up, just stop rationing our content.
The game
doesn't have enough.
Your gameplay experience would be so much better if it was all framed like that.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
that's a thought to carry into the next expansion, I think. We've got Goblinoros, who said Goblinoros, yes, who said, "Aren't you guys just talking about scenarios from Mists of Pandaria, though?"
Yes, we
In
were.
a way, yeah.
Basically, well, not with a higher end of difficulty, but largely yes.
Yeah, and I'm not saying now. Yes, but don't use them the way that not to use them in the way that they were used in Mists of Pandaria.
Yes,
where they just become a boring thing that's ground out. But if you take a little bit of the inspiration from that and put it into those narrative things, then maybe, I don't know, does it feel more like is it a Fate in FF that they're called?
No,
Judy.
Judy,
Yeah. Then I think that could end up. I mean, imagine the Battle for Ardenweald. It's a scenario. Imagine it feels vaguely interactive. You've got this battle line, that battle line, that battle line. So you got to go in. You got to defend the battle lines, right? You've got to actually fight the Battle for Ardenweald as supported in. It almost reminds me for some reason of the Helm's. What I understood of the Helm's Deep segment of Lotro. But anyway, something like that, because then you could, I think, portray the Battle for Ardenweald in a way that is more rooted in the game mechanics, and that would just be a more enjoyable thing.
Yeah, honestly, FF14 is like the gold standard for single player like duties and stuff in narrative functions. They really Blizzard need to look and see if they can emulate that in any capacity.
Yeah, I've only played the base ARR ones. I imagine they get a lot better.
Some of the 5.5 one is mind blowingly good.
Damn. Okay, well, I'm hyped for that.
Yep.